first up, let's get you the market action of the day. The bulls maintained their grip on Dalal Street for the 5th session in a row, marking their best week in over 3 months' time. The Nifty and the Sensex came off their intraday highs, but still ended with gains of about 0.75%. The mid-caps more or less followed suit, but the Bank Nifty was the clear outperformer today, led by Kotak Mahindra Bank. And as a result of that, that index gained more than 1.5% by the end of the day. But the top story this evening, 6 people have died and 34 injured in Mumbai after a part of a foot-over bridge collapsed near the CST railway station last evening. The incident happened during peak traffic hours at around 7:30 p.m. near one of the city's busiest suburban railway stations. Mumbai police have handed over the preliminary report on the mishap to the Chief Minister. The report blames Mumbai's municipal corporation, the BMC, for negligence and not conducting repairs on time. Meanwhile, Network 18 has accessed an audit report that was conducted 6 months ago. The audit report had certified the bridge to be in a good condition and had suggested only minor repairs. The BMC has just released a preliminary report pointing fingers at the auditor. An inquiry has been launched against 2 retired civic engineers. 2 current officials have been suspended. And Archana Shukla is joining in now with the latest. Archana, lot of inquiries, lot of investigations being launched. Take us through what's the latest at this point in time.
After every such tragedy, you have multiple committees being set up, multiple vigilance agencies who will revisit what was earlier audited, and same is happening. And obviously, the blame game is at its peak in the city of Mumbai. While initially the BMC Standing Committee Chief Jaswant Yadav had said that it was the railways that did not give approvals for repair work on this Himalaya bridge outside CST station. The report that they have released in the evening today puts a different picture altogether. What it says is that the D.D. Desai Associates, the agency that was doing the structural audit of about 39 bridges in Mumbai, and Himalaya bridge outside CST station was one of it. They had conducted multiple tests and had identified this bridge to be in good condition. Now, what needs to be noted from the report that BMC has released today is that the work order for this inspection was given in 2016. Initial part of audit was conducted in 2017, June 2017 and December 2017, and the report was released only in August of 2018. The question is, how long does it take to do an inspection and an audit, and does it take 2 years to submit a report? And if that does, it certainly is not painting the correct picture of the condition of that bridge right now. So what BMC has done is they have cancelled all the audit reports that this agency has submitted. They've asked all the other audit firms to revisit and re-audit all the other bridges. Remember, there were about 445 bridges that were audited in the last year after the Andheri bridge had collapsed. So all of that will now be re-audited by the audit agencies. This audit agency, D.D. Desai Associates, has been de-empaneled, and FIR has been filed against this agency. And 2 of the senior chief engineer and assistant engineer who were overlooking these audit reports have been suspended. So certainly some heads are rolling, but is that enough is really a question mark, because this is not an issue of one audit report or one bridge. It's a systemic failure of the BMC. It's the richest municipality body, but it's still the poorest when it comes to maintaining its infrastructure. We have good structures, but they are not maintained well, and the biggest question is on transparency and accountability. So just suspending a few officers may not be the answer at this point in time, but the BMC is looking at revisiting all the audits that they had conducted 6 months ago. All the agencies have to resubmit their projects, and 8 of the bridges, 8 of the foot-over bridges that were considered to be really detrimental and that could have fallen have been closed down right now.
Okay, Archana, all pertinent points raised. Where exactly does the buck stop and who is answerable? Thank you, Archana, for joining in with that. And we'll get you more of this story and more analysis on India Business Hour. But for now, there's more somber news. At least 49 people are confirmed dead and dozens injured after a terror attack on 2 mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand. One of the attacker has been identified as a right-wing extremist born in Australia, and he live-streamed the entire incident on social media. The Bangladesh cricket team, which is touring in New Zealand, had a narrow escape. CNBC's Matthew Taylor reports on the worst mass shooting in New Zealand's history.
New Zealand, one that the Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has called the nation's darkest day. Multiple casualties when it comes to this shooting that took place in 2 mosques in Christchurch. The attack happening around afternoon prayer time, just before midday local time. Now, we know that there have been 3 people arrested and a male in his late 20s has been charged with murder. Authorities around the Christchurch area say much of that city does remain in lockdown, and they're urging people to avoid attending mosques today. They've also said that they found some improvised explosive devices attached to at least one of the assailants' cars, but that has now been disarmed. The New Zealand Prime Minister saying that the nation's security threat level has now been raised to high from low. It's believed one of the people responsible for this crime is an Australian citizen, and we understand that that is the 28-year-old man who has been arrested. Some changes when it comes to air travel around Christchurch as well. Authorities there suspending regional turboprop services because a number of passengers can board those aircraft at smaller airports without security screening. So authorities taking the decision to ground those aircraft as a safety precaution. But that's the latest on what has transpired in New Zealand. Multiple casualties and fatalities, and also scores of people remaining injured as well. That's the latest. Back to you.
Incident indeed, but let's get to the stories back home. The Modi government's ambitious direct cash transfer scheme for farmers may face a roadblock. CNBC-TV18 learns from government sources that identification of new beneficiaries under the PM Kisan scheme may be possible only once the Lok Sabha polls are over. That's still when the model code of conduct will remain in force. Sapna Das is here with the details. Sapna, what are you picking up from your sources?
Well, as of now, what we are given to understand from EC sources is that the rule book is very clear. Any kind of a new beneficiary post the model code of conduct which came into place from 10th March is not permitted, be it for any government scheme. So having said that, clearly the same applies for the PM Kisan. So we are given to understand that possibly for the new beneficiaries to get the PM Kisan funds, or even to be, identified as beneficiaries, probably that exercise may have to wait up to elections, if this rule book of the Election Commission is clear and it'll have to, and if it is followed. So that's a caveat there. The second aspect, of course, is the fact that, having said all of this, 4.75 crore applications of intended beneficiaries, or rather identified beneficiaries, have come in as of 10th March. So basically, the sums will be transferred only to this lot as of now, if you're given to understand what the EC has told us. Now, in the meanwhile, the Agriculture Ministry has approached the EC informally. The same has not been confirmed by EC as of now, in the sense that they have said that, there has been no formal interaction, so to speak, or a formal request that has come in from Agriculture Ministry. So probably we'll have to wait for some clarity to emerge on that front. But Agriculture at its side is very clear that this is an ongoing scheme, and, please clarify as to what needs to be done regarding the new farmers which are still coming in post 10th March. And in the meanwhile, what Agriculture Ministry has done is that they have opened a second list of all those farmers. So clearly, somewhere some kind of demarcation has already taken place, and that's already, you just have to wait for the final nod to come in. But if that would be the case, in the sense that, no new beneficiary allowed after 10th March, if EC makes it very clear formally, then what it really means is that 20,000 crores had been allocated in this year's budget for the PM Kisan. You are somewhere around 6,000 odd crores in terms of disbursement. So there could be a kind of a forced savings over there, quote unquote, for the Finance Ministry, which is not a very bad news. And apart from that, whichever new beneficiary wants to come in, they might have to wait till the election. So 4.75 crore is where the number may actually get frozen in terms of the beneficiaries actually getting the PM Kisan first installment.
Okay, Sapna, thanks for joining in with that. So the PM Kisan scheme clearly facing roadblocks now. Now it's a clear setback for Anil Ambani and Reliance Communications in the Ericsson repayment case. The NCLAT has refused to direct SBI to release the income tax refund of 260 crore rupees to allow Reliance Communications to repay Ericsson. Now remember, the Supreme Court had set the 19th March deadline for Reliance Communications to repay 550 crore rupees to Ericsson. The failure to repay will lead to a 3-month jail term for Anil Ambani. Ashwit Kumar is here with more. Ashwit, take us through the details of the NCLAT order that came in today.
Well, to begin with, let's just give our viewers the benefit of perspective. Keep in mind that on February 20th, that's almost a month back, is when the Apex Court had directed RCOM to, in fact, pay up the amount of 550-odd crore rupees to Ericsson, failing which Anil Ambani would be in contempt and that he would have to go to jail. That was the sum and substance of the order passed on February 20th. Keep in mind that the deadline for that runs out in just a couple of days from now. March 19th is the deadline. Now, in pursuance of that, 118 crore rupees has already been paid. Now, from the balance money, what had essentially happened is that RCOM had made an appeal before the NCLAT for taking out 260 crore rupees of IT refunds, which were resting with SBI, to use that to repay Ericsson. SBI had clearly opposed that. That was the stance that the SBI had taken. Now, after hearing all the arguments, what we understand is that today the NCLAT passed its judgment saying, we just don't seem to have the necessary jurisdiction to pass orders. We're not passing any directions. And by doing so, NCLAT has clearly held that it is not putting any conditions, any directions on the SBI to release that amount of 260 crore rupees. Having said that, what the NCLAT has also, in fact, observed as a part of its judgment is that ideally, all the parties should come together and honor the commitment that was made to Ericsson, and that is something that should come through, failing which, if that does not happen, NCLAT will be left with no option but to, in fact, initiate IBC proceedings against RCOM. Having said that, there is also perhaps a window that has been opened by the NCLAT. The NCLAT has said that the Apex Court, the Supreme Court, is the one that has the appropriate jurisdiction, and that's perhaps a place where Anil Ambani as well as RCOM should try their luck. As of right now, as far as the appellate tribunal is concerned, NCLAT is shrugging its shoulders, saying, sorry, we can't help you. They can't order the release of the 260 crore rupees. So this essentially means mounting troubles. There is just one working day available between now and March 19th for RCOM, as well as Anil Ambani, to move the Apex Court and perhaps get some relief going forward for making that payment to Ericsson.
Okay, Ashwin, but stay with us. The other insolvency case that you're tracking is the long-drawn ESSAR Steel resolution case. The National Company Law Appellate Tribunal has warned the Committee of Creditors not to discriminate against ESSAR Steel's operational creditors. So the Appellate Tribunal has proposed that 10% of the 42,000 crore rupees bid made by ArcelorMittal be reserved for operational creditors. So, Ashwin, very clearly a tug-of-war of sorts between the lenders and the NCLAT batting for operational creditors here.
Indeed, again, a tug-of-war before the NCLAT. The NCLAT has, in fact, given a formula towards addressing those concerns. We'll come to that in just a bit. But first, the entire appeal that was before the NCLAT was on account of ESSAR promoters challenging the Arcelor bid of 42,000 crore rupees. Now, towards that extent, the NCLAT made a very curt observation using very sharp language that this offer by the promoters is bad, if not rotten. And with those words, in effect, not really taking a decision, setting aside the ESSAR application, the ESSAR promoters application, so to speak. With respect to the operational creditors, and this is where things got interesting, the NCLAT held that the principle of maximization works also for the operational creditors, that they too, in fact, should be given their due, that the current arrangement whereby they get only 4% of the entire bid is seemingly oppressive. And that's the language that he used. And with that, he has, in fact, asked the COC to amend the bid to work out a better division of the funds, failing which the NCLAT will then exercise its powers. And towards that extent, it's given a formula that 10% of the bid amount should, in fact, be reserved for the operational creditors. And with that, they have sent the matter back to the COC to consider and to come back on Monday, which is the next working day, March 18th. And then perhaps we can have this formula being thrashed out. On its part, the COC is opposing this formula outright, saying that the IBC mechanism is designed to ensure that secured financial creditors get their due. This is not a lottery system for the operational creditors, and that should be considered by the NCLAT. Arcelor, on its part, is saying that this is our bid. Either walk with it or reject it. That's for the COC to consider. So clearly now, all eyes now on March 18th to get more clarity on the way forward and whether or not this 10% formula is a workable one.
Okay, some strong words indeed, Ashmit. Thanks for joining in with that. But let's talk about some of the other big story that we have been tracking all day. France has decided to freeze the assets of Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar. In a statement issued by the French government, France has said that it will push the European Union to ban the Jaish chief. This comes a day after China blocked the United Nations bid to blacklist Masood Azhar yet again. Rahul Gandhi is on a campaign trail, has promised that his party would budget 3% of India's GDP towards healthcare if voted to power. He also promised to enact a Right to Healthcare Act that would guarantee every citizen right to healthcare services, including free diagnostics and medicines. Now, spot airfares in India have skyrocketed. Airfares on several key routes have seen a sharp climb amid rising mismatch between capacity and demand. The grounding of 12 Boeing 737 MAX aircraft of SpiceJet have only made matters worse. Anu Sharma is here to tell us the numbers. Anu, spot airfares continue to defy gravity. Not a very good time to travel, clearly.
That's very correct. The latest disruption on account of MAX groundings has led to a sharp spike in airfares across key metro routes. Data from Yatra.com shows that spot fares on metro routes have risen by as much as 140% if you look at fares for today and compare them with the same time period a year ago. A Mumbai-Hyderabad flight is 106% more expensive than last year at fare levels of around 5,900 rupees. If you look at fares for the same route for March 16th, the fares are over 300% more expensive at 17,380 rupees. In fact, fare levels on Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, Bombay are also up by almost 210% as compared to last year. The immediate reason is, of course, the grounding of 12 planes of SpiceJet affecting almost 72 flights. The airline is clubbing flights, deploying 78-seater Q400s on routes which were served by 737 new generation aircraft. This is naturally leading to a reduced capacity. In fact, if you look at the overall aviation picture, as per data sourced from FlightRadar24 and the company websites, almost 16% of the country's fleet is out of operation due to reasons ranging from financial trouble for some to maintenance for others. Also, the runway closure at Bombay Airport and the commander shortage problem for Indigo has further resulted in capped flight movements. Remember, runway closure at Bombay affects around 50 flights an hour, and Indigo has already said that it will cancel around 30 flights a day till March 30th. Now, all these factors are likely to result in a better yield environment for airlines, as airfares are likely to remain on the higher side in the near term. And this may even help Indigo gain market share as its competitors continue to face uncertainty on the MAX issue. But high fare levels may affect the passenger growth in a price-sensitive market like India, as we saw in January in terms of single-digit growth. Back to you.
Okay, Anu, thanks for breaking that down for us. If you want to travel in the Holy Weekend, you may want to think again before you book. With that, it's time to wrap up this edition of What's Hot. Thank you for watching. Up next, we shift focus to Dalal Street. Markets extend weekly gaining streak to 4 weeks in a row. The Sensex and the Nifty hit 6-month highs. Market extends that gain across the board. Taking stock gives you a roundup of the entire week. On the other side, stay right there.